I want you to just picture something for me real quick. You're high up in the Pyrenees Mountains.
Oh, setting the scene. I like it.
Right. So the air is thin, it's getting dark, and standing right at the edge of this massive flock of sheep is this stark white guardian.
Just a classic image.
Exactly. Just standing there, not rushing around, not, looking back at a shepherd, waiting for a command, just watching.
Completely independent.
Yeah, deciding for itself what matters
Hmm.
and staying perfectly calm until calm is no longer the right answer.
It's such a powerful image. And, I mean, what makes it so relevant is that this exact same ancient independent guardian is probably sleeping on a living room rug right now.
Very true.
But keeping a giant stoic working dog healthy in a modern home, it requires a completely different rule book than you'd use for, like, a typical pet.
And that is exactly why we're here. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a really comprehensive 10-part masterclass on the health, lifespan, and honestly, the very unique psychology of the Great Pyrenees.
It's a massive amount of material.
It really is. We're taking all of this and breaking down how to transform a basic veterinary checklist into a true lifetime roadmap for you.
Because it's not just about scheduling checkups.
No, not at all. The core philosophy here is actually incredibly simple, but it kind of shifts your entire perspective. A Great Pyrenees spends its absolute entire life watching over its world.
Right. First a flock, maybe a yard, and eventually a family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lifetime health plan is simply you learning how to watch back.
I think that's the perfect way to frame it.
Oh.
Because they are never, ever going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you when something is wrong.
Right. They just aren't wired that way.
You have to become the observer of the observer.
Hmm.
And to understand how to really do that, we have to start at the very beginning of their timeline, which is puppyhood.
The foundation.
Exactly. You cannot have a resilient, magnificent adult guardian without properly constructing the giant first.
Constructing the giant. I actually really like that phrase. But when we talk about giant breed growth, we have to look at the physical mechanics of it.
Right.
Think of a giant breed puppy's skeleton less like solid wood and more like wet cement in a mold.
That is a very accurate way to picture it.
Yeah, because if you pile a massive amount of weight onto wet cement before it actually cures, the framework just bows and distorts.
That is the exact underlying biological reality we're dealing with. With the Great Pyrenees, nutrition must focus entirely on soundness, not size.
Which goes against a lot of instincts.
It does. A lot of people see a giant breed puppy, and their first instinct is to feed it heavily so it gets massive as quickly as possible.
Like it's competition or something.
Right, but if you push for rapid growth, that heavy muscle mass is being placed directly onto soft, developing cartilage and open growth plates.
Which just forces the legs to bow under all that pressure.
Exactly. It sets the stage for lifelong orthopedic disasters. You want slow, steady, controlled growth.
Because it takes time.
It takes a lot of time. That skeleton needs to harden and cure, often taking up to 2 full years before it takes on the full adult weight.
Wow, 2 years.
Yeah, and it's also why exercise in the puppy phase really needs to be low impact.
Yeah.
You don't want them, jumping out of trucks or doing repetitive running on hard pavement while those joints are still forming.
Right. That makes total sense. And while we're building this physical foundation, we also have to set up the behavioral foundation, right? Like early handling is a huge part of this.
Huge. It's so critical.
Just touching their paws, examining their ears, opening their mouth, getting them used to having that super dense coat handled.
Because this is purely a matter of future logistics. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
If you do not establish grooming cooperation and bodily trust when the dog weighs 20 pounds, how on earth are you going to manage it when the dog weighs 120 pounds?
Then decides it absolutely does not want its ears cleaned.
Exactly. It becomes a wrestling match you will lose. So everything introduced in puppyhood, people, weird noises, different walking surfaces, it must be done gradually.
So no throwing them into the deep end at a crowded park.
No, definitely not. We aren't trying to force interactions to create this bubbly golden retriever style extrovert.
Right, because they aren't golden retrievers.
Right. We're doing calm, neutral exposure so the adult guardian dog doesn't view every new, harmless thing as a physical threat.
Okay, so speaking of their guarding instincts, I was looking at the training protocols and the sources for this early phase, and they explicitly advise practicing recall. Teaching the dog to come when called only in highly secure fenced areas.
Yes, that is a very specific rule for this breed.
But why wouldn't we want to master open space recall? I mean, shouldn't a guardian dog's baseline instinct be to stay glued to you?
Well, that assumes they view you as a master giving commands rather than a partner they are supposed to protect.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a big distinction.
It gets to the very heart of what a livestock guardian dog actually is. These dogs were bred for centuries to think entirely for themselves.
Right, because they had to.
Exactly. If a wolf approaches a flock at 3 a.m. in a blizzard, the dog cannot wait for a shepherd to wake up, assess the situation, and give a command.
They'd lose the flock.
They would. So they have to assess the threat and make a life or death decision completely independently.
So that independence we see, it isn't just stubbornness. It's a hardwired genetic feature.
It is their operating system.
Yeah.
They're constantly making their own risk assessments.
Okay.
And because of that, their recall in an unsecured open space can honestly never be fully trusted. You might call them, but if they see a threat on the horizon that you don't...
Or they just think they need to stay put.
Right. If they decide their current post is critical for the safety of the perimeter, they will simply override your command. They genuinely believe they know better than you in that moment.
That is fascinating. Which brings us to a really massive realization. A healthy giant body is completely useless if you don't understand the mind operating it.
They are deeply intertwined.
Health and behavior totally are. But I have to be honest, some of the behavioral management rules from the sources are a little hard to swallow.
Like what?
Well, for instance, the goal for barking is described as managing it rather than expecting silence. Wait, managing?
Yes, managing.
I mean, I'm sorry, but if my dog is barking at a literal leaf blowing across the street at 2 a.m., I'm not managing that, I'm stopping it. Why can't we just use modern training techniques to teach them to be quiet?
I completely get the frustration. It sounds like giving up, right?
It kind of does.
But you have to think about the mechanism of their history. You are fighting thousands of years of specialized genetics, and it is a battle you will lose.
Because they're just built to bark.
A Great Pyrenees uses its voice as its absolute primary tool of guardianship. Up in the mountains, the goal was to project this deep, booming bark to warn predators away from miles out.
So long before a fight ever happened.
Exactly. Long before a physical confrontation ever became necessary. The bark is the defense mechanism. To them, silence means leaving the flock vulnerable.
So asking them not to bark is basically asking a bird not to sing. Or a greyhound not to run.
Right. It's punishing them for doing the exact job they were explicitly designed to do.
Okay, so if we can't stop it, what do we do?
Instead of fighting it, the goal is teaching an alert then settle routine.
Alert then settle.
Yeah, you want them to be able to sound the alarm, have you, the human partner, acknowledge that you've received the message, and then they recover their calm.
So I have to actually go check on what they're barking at?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
You step out, you say, I see it, thank you, we're safe, and they stand down, rather than escalating into this endless frenzy.
And I assume you build that dynamic entirely on trust.
Exactly, never on physical force.
And you never intentionally amplify their guarding instinct either, right? Like you don't need to teach a Pyrenees to be suspicious.
Never. They come pre-installed with plenty of suspicion.
I can imagine.
If you encourage it, you cross the line from a safe, observant guardian into an anxious, reactive liability. It's very dangerous.
And there's a really crucial medical tie-in to all this psychology, too. Because they are so stoic and independent, a sudden change in behavior in an adult Pyrenees is often their body's way of communicating physical discomfort.
This is vital for any owner to understand. They aren't going to whimper or limp at the first sign of pain.
Because weakness is dangerous in the wild.
Precisely. So they mask it. Instead, you might see them become suddenly irritable with other dogs in the house, or their barking patterns might dramatically change.
Or they suddenly won't let you near their favorite spot.
Exactly. When a stoic dog acts completely out of character, behavior is your primary vital sign.
And accommodating this vigilant, independent mind, it requires a very specific lifestyle setup.
It really does.
We're talking about secure fencing with heavy-duty latches because apparently a bored, intelligent, giant breed will absolutely figure out a flimsy gate latch.
Oh, they are notorious escape artists when they decide the perimeter needs expanding.
You also need a rock-solid climate plan. Shade, cooling mats, constant access to water. You have to remember the physical reality of the dog.
Which is that they're wearing a dense winter coat all year round.
Right. And obviously you have to budget for giant breed costs. When a dog weighs over 100 pounds, the veterinary doses, the anesthesia, the flea and tick preventatives, the food, It all scales up exponentially.
It's a real financial commitment,
Yeah,
which naturally brings us to the biggest physical barrier to monitoring their health.
the coat itself.
Yes,
Ah, yes, the cloak of
the
deception.
cloak of deception, exactly.
It really is an optical illusion, isn't it? Like, grooming isn't just a spa day for a Pyrenees. It's basically a Trojan horse for a full-body medical exam.
That is perhaps the single most critical takeaway for adult care in this entire deep dive. Looking good from across the yard is absolutely not the same as being genuinely well.
Because it hides everything.
The thick double coat hides everything. You can have a dog that looks majestic, massive, and perfectly healthy, but underneath all that dense white hair, they could be losing dangerous amounts of weight.
Or suffering from severe muscle wasting.
Right. Visual checks are 100% useless.
So how do you actually do a physical check? I mean, you can't just run a soft brush over their back and call it a day, right?
No, definitely not.
Hmm.
You have to use a technique called line brushing.
Okay, so how does that work?
You physically push the harsh, longer outer coat up with one hand and brush the soft, dense undercoat down with the other. This exposes the actual skin in a horizontal line.
Oh, so you're actually seeing the skin.
Exactly. You do this inch by inch, starting from the bottom of the dog and working your way up.
Hmm.
And while you are doing this, your hands are acting as a diagnostic tool.
So you're feeling for body condition, like checking if the ribs feel like the knuckles on a closed fist, which means they are way too thin, or if they feel like the back of your hand, which is ideal.
Exactly. You are feeling for hidden lumps, cysts, or tumors that you would never ever see with your eyes.
You're checking the armpits, the belly, the chest.
The inner legs, the tail base. You're parting the fur to look for redness, trapped moisture, foul odors, or hot spots.
And those can develop incredibly fast under a double coat, right?
Super fast. And you're also checking for ticks, burrs, or just small puncture wounds they might have gotten while patrolling the yard.
But what about groomers? I mean, people take these dogs to professional groomers specifically to manage that massive seasonal shedding. Doesn't that cover the health check?
Professional grooming is a fantastic tool for managing the coat, but it can never replace at-home physical surveillance.
Really? Why not?
A groomer might see your dog once every 3 or 4 months. You need to know what your dog's physical baseline feels like week to week.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you don't know what normal feels like under your own hands, you simply will not detect the abnormal until it has become a full-blown medical crisis.
And that transitions us perfectly into adulthood, emergencies, and this whole idea of tracking patterns. Because that coat hides so much, navigating their adult years requires rigorous, intentional tracking.
It's the only way.
The sources recommend using apps like Vital Pet to log everything from food intake to stool changes. But I have to admit, my initial reaction to this was, really?
It seems like a bit much.
Yeah. Do I really need an app to own a dog? Logging every minor change feels like modern overparenting. I mean, dogs have been surviving for thousands of years without data entry.
It's a completely fair initial reaction. I hear that a lot. But think about the specific biological machine we are dealing with here.
Okay.
This tracking is not helicopter parenting. It is a critical lifeline. We've established that the Great Pyrenees is bred to be extremely stoic.
Right, they hide the pain.
They actively hide physical changes as a survival mechanism. If you rely solely on your general day-to-day impressions, you will miss the slow, insidious trends.
Because it happens so gradually, you won't notice they've been eating like 10% less food for 3 months.
Or that they are drinking slightly more water.
Right, until they've lost a dangerous amount of weight or their kidneys are already struggling.
That's the real danger. And when you finally do realize something is wrong and you go to the vet, you do not want to be sitting in the exam room piecing together scattered memories.
Saying, I think his stool was soft a few weeks ago.
Right, or maybe he's been sleeping a bit more since Tuesday. That doesn't give a vet actionable diagnostic data.
But having a continuous record allows you to show them exact patterns over time.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of diagnosing a dog that is literally hardwired to hide its symptoms from you. The data speaks when the dog won't.
Okay, you've convinced me. That makes perfect sense. And speaking of things the vet needs to know immediately, we really have to talk about the ultimate emergency.
Yes, we do.
The nightmare scenario for deep-chested giant breeds, bloat, or GDV, which stands for gastric dilatation volvulus.
It is the most terrifying medical emergency an owner can face, honestly, and understanding the mechanics of it is non-negotiable.
So what is actually happening inside the dog during GDV?
Think of a deep-chested dog's stomach, like a hammock.
Okay, a hammock.
It's suspended by ligaments inside their abdominal cavity. If that hammock fills up with excessive gas, food or water, it becomes heavy and distended.
And that's the dilatation part, the bloat.
Exactly. But the real danger is the volvulus. Because the stomach is suspended like a hammock, if a dog with a heavy, full stomach suddenly sprints, rolls, or jumps.
The stomach can swing.
Yes, it swings like a pendulum. And that momentum can cause the entire organ to flip or twist on itself.
Which instantly cuts off the blood supply to the stomach and often the spleen, right?
Yes, and it traps the gas inside where it continues to expand.
That sounds horrific.
It is. It sends the dog into shock very quickly, and the expanding pressure can literally crush the flow of blood back to the heart.
Wow.
It is fatal, often within hours, if not treated with emergency surgery immediately.
So what are the specific visual signs we need to have memorized? Because you obviously can't wait to see if they feel better in the morning.
No, absolutely not. The most classic sign is unproductive retching.
So they look like they're trying to throw up but can't.
Exactly. They look like they are desperately trying to vomit, but nothing is coming up, or maybe just a tiny bit of white foam.
Okay.
You will often see a visibly distended, hard abdomen, though the coat can mask this.
Which is why you have to feel their sides.
Right. You'll also see severe restlessness. They can't get comfortable. They might pace, pant heavily, or stand with a hunched back.
If you see that combination, you go to the emergency vet right that second.
Do not wait.
Other major red flags that mean don't wait include sudden collapse, pale gums, which indicates poor circulation, and inability to rise, trouble breathing, or unexplained bleeding.
All of those are absolute emergencies.
And to mitigate that bloat risk specifically, exercise timing around meals has to be managed, right?
Absolutely. Because of that pendulum effect we talked about, you never feed a giant breed dog a massive meal and then let them go roughhouse or sprint around the yard.
You have to enforce a period of calm digestion.
It's critical.
So we've laid the physical foundation, we've navigated the independent guarding mind, we've learned to check beneath the deceptive coat, and we've tracked the data through their prime adult years.
Quite a journey.
It really is. And all of this culminates in the final chapter, the senior years. And this phase really represents a fundamental shift in the dynamic between the owner and the dog.
It really is a beautiful, if emotionally difficult, transition.
It kind of feels like the changing of the guard, you know? They spent a decade, day and night, patrolling the fence line, watching the door, keeping an eye on your family.
And now, suddenly, their body is failing, and you're the one watching them.
That is exactly what this phase is about. Loyalty returned. Senior care for a giant breed isn't just about giving them extra naps.
No, it requires the owner to actively step up and adapt the physical environment to a body that is breaking down.
What does that look like mechanically? I mean, we aren't just talking about a dog getting a little stiff.
We're talking about a dog with significant mass struggling against gravity. Large breeds often suffer from hind-end weakness as they age, largely due to their rear angulation and just the wear and tear on those joints.
So the environment itself becomes a hazard.
Exactly. Hardwood or tile floors, which were totally fine when they were 2, suddenly become terrifying ice rinks for a 10-year-old Pyrenees with arthritis.
And every time they slip, they risk micro tears or just losing their confidence to walk.
Which is devastating for a large dog.
So you have to intervene. You put down non-slip rugs, you place yoga mats in high-traffic hallways, you use ramps to help them get into cars or navigate porch stairs.
You basically have to remove the physical friction from their daily movement.
And you must monitor their weight in both directions. Gaining weight is terrible because it puts additional crushing stress on aging arthritic joints.
But sudden weight or muscle loss, which again the coat will try to hide from you, can indicate underlying organ failure or cancer.
Right. But here's the psychological part that I found so fascinating in the sources. You adapt their exercise, but you don't just force them to stop working entirely.
No, you can't.
There is a specific focus on protecting their access to their favorite watch spot.
You have to think about the psychology of a working dog. They are guardians to their absolute core.
It's who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
So if their favorite spot for the last 8 years has been the raised landing by the front door where they can see the whole house and monitor the driveway,
Yeah.
and suddenly their hips can't manage the 2 steps to get there, that is psychologically devastating for them.
They feel like they can't do their job, like they're useless.
Exactly. So what do? You build a gentle ramp to that watch spot. You bring their orthopedic bed to the watch spot.
You make sure they can still be exactly who they are.
Yes, and fulfill their genetic purpose, even as their body fails them. You accommodate the guardian mind even when the guardian body is tired.
That's incredibly touching. And part of that loyalty returned is having honest, early quality of life conversations with your veterinarian.
Highly recommend doing this early.
You don't wait for a catastrophic collapse. You have those talks well before a crisis hits, establishing what a good day looks like versus a bad day.
So that when the time comes to make the ultimate hard decision, you are making it out of love, preparation, and partnership.
Not out of panic at 3 a.m.
That is the greatest gift you can give a dog that has given its entire life to watching over you.
So if we step back and look at this entire lifetime roadmap, managing a Great Pyrenees really boils down to balancing three distinct realities.
Let's review them.
First, managing the large guardian body, understanding the wet cement of puppyhood, the joint stress, and those very real bloat risks.
Second, understanding the thick white coat, treating it as a cloak of deception, and using hands-on line brushing to really conduct physical surveillance.
And third, respecting that independent guardian mind. Understanding the mechanics of the alert then settle bark, their hardwired risk assessment, and realizing that a sudden shift in that stoic behavior is your loudest medical alarm bell.
Perfect ownership isn't about being flawless. It isn't about catching every single microscopic change the second it happens.
Because you won't.
Right. It's about consistency. It's about paying attention, keeping the data, and forming a real working partnership with your vet.
Health happens in the daily rhythm of how you live with them, not just on an exam table.
Exactly.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. We've talked extensively today about how humanity intentionally spent generations breeding this dog to be entirely independent.
We designed them to make life and death decisions for a flock, alone in the dark, without ever waiting for a human's permission.
They were engineered for autonomy.
Yes.
So, are we doing a disservice to these ancient working breeds by trying to force them into the mold of a modern, subservient pet?
That's a great question.
We are so accustomed to dogs that look to us for every single cue, the golden retrievers who just want to know what we want them to do next.
Right, the eager to please mentality.
But owning a Great Pyrenees challenges that entire paradigm. It is a psychological contract. You actually have to let go of your human need for total control.
You really do. You aren't their master giving orders. You are their partner managing the environment.
It completely flips the script on what it means to be a dog owner.
It really does. It's a totally different relationship.
So the next time you see that stark white dog lying quietly by the doorway, seemingly doing nothing, just remember, they are always watching over you. A lifetime of good health is just you learning how to watch back.
Well said.
Yeah.
As a final reminder, this deep dive is for educational purposes only. If you're concerned about your dog's health, always consult your veterinarian.